Hello, everybody, and welcome back to your Corona quarantine. All of us are staying at home as much as possible.
Welcome back. That would imply you have to leave a place.
We gave them the... This is actually going to come out before the podcast, maybe. Anyways, we know you might be stuck at home. We're stuck at home. We know everyone's looking for content, so we decided we'd make some. We got a pretty interesting email here from a patron.
It took a global pandemic for us to increase our rate of productivity.
Why are we losing patrons, guys? We produce once a week like clockwork, and that's it. Go to our Patreon at patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery.
Here's some bonus content for you all. We got an email from Caleb, one of our longtime listeners. And this we thought was just an interesting email. So we're going to try sort of a new thing here where we just kind of go deep on one segment. And it's going to be a standalone piece of content. So, all right. So here we go. This is the email from Caleb. Hey, Brew Crew, just talked to Jason Alt, and he said I should email my question, so here we go. The recap of the situation. My LGS owner is getting out of the business of buying and selling singles because, quote, people only buy singles online. He will still be selling sealed products and having events, including pre-releases and F&M. He offered to sell me the entire inventory for $9,000. It's approximately 200,000 cards. They are alphabetized. This isn't the backroom bulk. It's their boxes from behind the counter. There are higher-end cards, a few OG duels, and I'm having them put together a list of high-end notables. The owner does not have a digital database of inventory and really doesn't care about Magic. He is notorious for not having heard of certain cards. He doesn't sell online and doesn't monitor his bulk at all. The owner estimates it at $20,000 value. I'm going to look at the collection this afternoon and give you updates. I don't need these cards for myself. I have most all EDH staples and will only be selling these individually or to the Card Kingdom buy list. I buy and sell cards casually on eBay and have a digital database of all my cards on Echo MTG. I monitor my bulk and just sent a pile of trash, uncommon, and bulk rares to Card Kingdom for $900. So I know what to look for and I've been playing since Ice Age. I'm a business owner and entrepreneur in life in general. The question is, if I did buy this and then acted quickly to offload some of the higher end cards at super competitive prices so they move fast, do you think I could offload $6,000 or $7,000 and recoup it quickly? If the remaining $2,000 is harder to pick through and takes a year, that's fine. I'm just concerned about the entire $9,000 being tied up for a year. If it does end up being worth $20K, it takes me some free time over a year to get back the $9K investment, I'd be stoked. I'm not dying to invest in cards, but if $11,000 in profits is possible, I would. Let me know your take. Really appreciate all the great advice over the last 5 years I've been listening. 5+ years, as a matter of fact. Thanks, Caleb.
Buy it.
So what he's really asking is two questions. The first question seems really obvious to everybody. Is like, should I spend $9,000 to make $20,000 if I don't make that $20,000 overnight?
Buy it.
Which is it.
Yes.
Which DJ can tell you about from his psychology classes where you give a kid a marshmallow and be like, you can have 5 marshmallows in 10 minutes and you come back and the marshmallow's gone, because of course, right? Should I eat the marshmallow or should I have 2 marshmallows in an hour? But the second question here is like, there's a lot of uncertainty with the financial markets. There's probably a recession coming because that's what happens when there's tax cuts and pandemics. We're bringing back the roaring 20s, folks. Bars are closed. The stock market's in free fall. And, the music's real weird. The 20s are back. So there's a lot of tumult in the stock market. And it could be really silly to have $9,000 tied up. So there is a timeliness factor here. You can absolutely make more money by selling this slowly on your eBay store or something like that. Is it going to be possible with stores like TCG Player closing their warehouses to flip this stuff quickly enough to make enough of a profit? Like if you turn this $9,000 into $9,500 on potentially $25,000 worth of cards, you just wasted a collection basically. So he's asking the obvious question, but he's also asking is this worth it to do this now? And I think
right. And that's the big one.
We should dig into that.
Yeah, with the coronavirus doing its thing, like Jason said, we've seen, I believe, Channel Fireball announce that they're shutting down. We could see TCG Player shut down, which would definitely make it harder to just flip on there. Card Kingdom could go the same way. For now, it all is sort of there and fine. But I'll say this. you do there comes an opportunity cost to this stuff. And that opportunity cost is not just money. Obviously, that's the easy one, but the opportunity cost here is also your time. You know, if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur in life in general, you have $9,000 to drop into Magic cards, then you likely lead a pretty busy life. And this is taking all the work out of it for you in terms of sorting and alphabetizing. That is great, right? But you do just have to consider what is realistic for you to get through it. Because as somebody who bought, I bought a several $1,000 collection of modern staples a while back. I probably 6 months ago or something. It was just a giant, very expensive collection of modern staples, and I got to them in sort of the time frame I get to Magic cards, which is not always very fast, given how much I'm gone for events and so on. So by the time I ended up selling it all or flipping it, I made money on it, but way less than I could have. I mean, in that time frame, Pioneer had been announced. I think Eldraine had come out and destroyed Modern even more. No one wanted to play. The price on Modern cards was just cratering. So, you know, like I said, I still did okay on it, but was it worth it to make whatever I ended up making on it? I don't know. You know, probably, but it is something you have to consider. So with the coronavirus now, you have, I mean, consider it Oko for all formats, or I guess that makes it just Oko, right? Completely broken. And therefore cause problems. And just like I got hosed on Modern because no one wanted to play it, if no one can play Magic because the coronavirus has caused a recession, I mean, it's going to cause a recession, right? In the United States, at least, that's just kind of a fact. Doesn't mean that the economy won't come back. Doesn't mean it's going to impact the price of Magic singles, but we frankly don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it could be 2 months before people really get going again. I mean, what's going to happen to the price of Magic singles if people can't play paper Magic for 2 or 3 months? You know, just regardless of what you think Modern looks like a year from now, or rather Magic looks like a year from now with this stuff. I mean, what happens if people just can't play the game for 2 or 3 months in paper? People are going to shift online. People are going to need to sell cards if it's a recession and they have issues. Magic was pretty recession proof in 2008, but every recession is different. And we just frankly don't know what the combination of coronavirus and something like Arena existing in the meantime will do to those paper prices. So one of the other things to note kind of in the case against it is, even if the value was, say, 20,000, condition is not going to be taken into account there. Almost nobody ever takes condition into account when they just kind of know what their cards are worth. But if every one of those cards you have to sell at LP instead of near mint, if you were to try to flip them to a buy list or on TCG Play or something, that's some percentage off. You know, maybe not a lot, but it is something to consider. So, look, it's Magic cards. It's. I don't think it's a bad idea, but there are certainly some things you have to consider here that are really confounding factors. You know, there's sort of like Jason said, in normal time periods, something like the condition and the opportunity cost. That's what you have to worry about. But with the coronavirus, all bets are off because we don't know what that's going to do. You know, it does represent an excellent time to buy these cards and make money on them. But I think you just need to consider what you're realistically going to make. You have to price in the risk of the recession damaging the card values. So that's all I'll say on it. You know, if you're looking for reasons to not drop $9,000 in the middle of a pandemic shutting down the globe, there are some reasons to not do that.
DJ, do you have a different perspective on this timing, irrespective?
I think it's still fine to buy. I am of the opinion that this game is immortal and it will not die until the Earth is engulfed by the sun in a heat of a bunch of flames. So I am perfectly willing to spend the money, and even if Card Kingdom buy list drops, even if Magic Fest are not available for the next couple of months, I still think that you have numerous outs. Especially, I think a big factor in this is how interconnected you are, and just personnel wise, like the fact that you've already reached out to us means that you know some other outs that you could take with this and some other ways that you can make money on a shortened time scale. I mean, like the fact that you've reached out to me, Jason, and Corbin means that you have 3 people who could come to you and buy this for like $1,000 to $2,000 more theoretically. And then you spent $9,000 to make $1,000 to $2,000, but you did it over the course of like 2 weeks, which is great. Like this is the kind of collection that I would travel for, even in this. I mean, especially in this sort of pandemic situation, because it means
your flight would be very cheap, DJ.
Well, I mean, my flight, like my driving, like I have nothing on my schedule. I have nothing on my schedule.
Same, buddy.
So like, I'm normally like, oh, I'll be in Detroit, I'll be in Louisville, I'll be in Tampa Bay, I'll be in these places. I'll see if I can schedule this kind of collection. And like last year, I had a collection that was like in between two other GPs where I flew myself to Atlanta for like 18 hours. Was there for a few hours, bought a collection, then flew back, then drove to a GP like 2 days later. But this kind of thing I'd be happy to buy it, and I'd be happy to spend several hours listing it on TCG, and I'd be happy to reap all the sales. So one of the
eventually,
right. But I mean, one of the possible things to consider is if you are in the TCG Direct program or not. We've done other videos on TCG Player Direct. JJ, our editor, is going to throw up one of those fancy little links where you can just like, bam, what's the Direct program? I don't want to spend another 8 minutes on this video learning about, but just go to that video. It's fine, and I'll wait. All right, great. Yeah. So now you know what the Direct program is, and you know that one of the biggest factors about that program is that you have to send all of your cards to a warehouse. And so if the coronavirus blows that up in your face, then you will be shipping all of those orders individually. So I still think that like my store right now, I have roughly 8,000 cards listed on TCG Player. A large percentage of those cards are priced to move on Direct, not necessarily in the normal TCG Player Marketplace channels. So if Direct is frozen temporarily, then I will have to run some manual pricing adjustments to get my cards selling through the normal channels that aren't Direct. But that is something that you would be able to take into account while purchasing this collection. You'd have to take into account the cost of stamps, supplies, shipping envelopes, all the printer paper, toner, all that.
And this is where the time factor comes in.
Right. But I mean,
it's one thing to take them to a Magic Fest.
This is why you get more selling at retail than selling at buy list, because somebody's got to do the work, and usually it's a store when you buy list to them. But if you're willing to do the work, you'll make more money out of this collection.
Right. But
so this is where typically you just take it to a GP and flip it, and it'd be great, especially in this case with everything alphabetized. But if that's not on the table, then you have to. Can you start every morning with checking your TCG Player store and packaging stuff up and printing labels and running it to the post office or mailbox or whatever how you ship? Yeah, I mean that might be reasonable for you, but it is going to be more work than you think it is. Right. And it's going to be a lot of cards.
But at a time like this, perhaps you had a job and all of a sudden you're stuck at home. Maybe you're going to get some relief, but maybe you're missing a lot of income. This could be a way to tide you over.
But I mean, even if your industry is like overwhelmed, or even if you have a lot of business going on in this sort of slowdown of normal small businesses, even if you just don't have the time to deal with it, I really can't emphasize enough the value of just having personal connections with people in the industry who are ingrained and who are willing to make that kind of time and effort to put into this kind of collection, because it still represents a free flip for you, even if CK is low, even if Channel Fireball's warehouse is shut down, even if it seems like a lot of options to you are shut down. There are still a lot of stores out there who are looking to buy Magic cards, whose events are shut down, who are willing to put in that time for you. So that still represents an easy flip for you, even if it's involves a little bit of networking and a little bit of dealing with people who you might not normally expect to be dealing with. Those connections can be invaluable. And just like, hey, I know this guy who knows this store owner who runs GPs who's not being able to buy at GPs right now, which means that like I can put 2 and 2 together and we each drive and wear our hazard suits and then I make some money. So like you can take the long road of list all this on a TCG or eBay store and wait a while, or you still, like, even in this sort of situation, you still have those quick flip options.
Yeah. I typically am pretty conservative when it comes to this stuff. I'm all about the quick flip. You know, the idea of dropping $9,000 to make $10,000, but you do it to make $1,000 profit, but you do it in a week. I think that stuff's great. I mean, we talk all the time about how, the way to build up your business is just turn $1 into $2 repeatedly. And sometimes, if you have other stuff going on in your life, maybe this just is a nice way to make your money back and keep a couple free duels for yourself, right? That's kind of my favorite way to feel at the end of a collection is that, I made some money and I got some stuff for myself.
Now, this is really not a typical situation at all. We have everything being kind of thrown off by the the whole coronavirus thing, the social distancing aspect, the fact that the economy is pretty unstable right now. And you have the fact that an LGS owner who has people play tournaments in his store and has everything set, sorted, alphabetized, in binders, like immaculately sorted, not digitally sorted, but still physically sorted. So the fact that like you do not have to spend hours
huge.
hours set sorting and alphabetizing literal bulk, or pulling stuff out of bulk. This is a gift collection. The fact that you could pay $9,000 for this and sell it for 11 tomorrow is not a typical situation. If you want something similar to this and you don't want to wait along for an LGS to, make a mistake like I think this LGS is making.
Well, this is certainly weird, right?
There are some things that you can do. Now some LGSs are getting a little bit frustrated right now, and a lot are looking to sell out. Just because with TCG Player Direct and the push towards digital, I think the stores that are the least invested in Magic are going to be the most willing to be like, just take the stuff. Yeah. I think if the store has F&M, they're less likely to do something like this, because I think the LGS owner is going to feel like an idiot the first time he has F&M and someone's like, "Can I buy this?" He's like, "People only buy cards online."
Yeah, it's just like, insane.
So if a store is like primarily like a hobby shop or a comic book store and like doesn't run tournaments, but they still show up on the Wizards locator, the best collections I've ever bought are from like hobby shops, and I've bought whole inventories. If they're just looking to sell just their bulk probably isn't that well picked. So just offer them the bulk rate, see what they say. You don't have to buy everything. Sometimes people will just sell sealed product for the wrong price, So if you are sort of in a situation where you get more collections and that sorting started to dry up, maybe go places you wouldn't ordinarily. Just like that dude who got all the hand sanitizer because he went to like all those weird dollar stores that nobody else went to. Yeah. You're not going to end up like that guy with his account shut down, unable to move it. You're just going to end up with a lot of good Magic cards because you went to a place that sells balsa wood airplanes and bought their booster box of 7th edition sealed booster packs that's been sitting there since
That's the most boomer thing you've said in at least, what is today, 2 days. What? That's the most boomer thing. Balsa wood airplanes. And, oh, by the way, you're buying 7th edition from like 1999?
That's a thing that happened to me.
Okay.
I'm not that
boomer.
Creative. All right, man. Look, there are plenty of hobby shops and like weird collectible stores that like mostly sell like old Mad magazines and weird curios. And they're like, I got one long box of Magic cards and it's all every set unsorted.
I just couldn't let the opportunity pass, but I do agree with your point.
Computer repair stores.
I tell you. Some of those places show up on Wizard Store Locator. You go in there, and if they're willing to get out of the stuff, you'll make money processing Magic cards. So the more places you go to look, and if you're sick of people on Let's Go and Craigslist, worrying that you're going to be murdered, you're less likely to be murdered by a guy that sells balsa wood airplanes.
There you go. Life advice. So yeah, hope everyone enjoyed this Brainbite. I think we all agree that this is a great opportunity for you. Collections like this
free money
just never come along. But at the very least, you should be aware of all the risks that we outlined, because it is a very interesting time to be buying and selling Magic cards. So there you go, everybody. That is the bonus content here from Brainstorm Brewery this week. Let us know what you think. If you like stuff like this, if you want more of it, we'll see what we can do. Everybody, thanks for watching. See you for check out the podcast if you're watching this video without having watched the podcast here on our YouTube channel.
How?
Well, you get the podcast at
we are going to spend $10,000 advertising this video.
BrainstormBrewery.com, Patreon.com/BrainstormBrewery, YouTube.com/BrainstormBrewery. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you back for the cast.